evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance from Councilmember Moore.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I have a council roll call, please?
Mayor Verapapa.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Deaton. Here. Councilmember Moore.
Here.
Councilmember Sestarsik. Here. Councilmember Masalavet. Here. All present.
Thank you. Approval of agenda and waiver of full reading of resolution to ordinances by motion of the City Council. This is the time to notify the public of any changes to the agenda and/or rearrange the order of the agenda. Does anyone have any at this time? Looking to the right, I see none. Looking to the left, I see none. Thank you. Okay, well, thank you all. We're going to begin and end tonight's meeting in memory of police volunteer Ramsey Mansour. We have a number of presentations. The first one will be the Seal Beach Police Department Honor Guard to present the American flag. Please stand.
Detail. Hope. The yard.
Present. Cut.
We will now have the national anthem sung by Miss Ronnie DeVere from the Orange County School of Performing Arts.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Oh, word. Much.
Please be seated. That was beautiful, thank you. We now have a proclamation regarding 9/11. I'd like to call upon Sergeant Michael Henderson at this time. I know I saw him out there earlier.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, city staff. Thank you for having us here tonight. It is National Preparedness Month in September. The City of Seal Beach and the City of Seal Beach Police Department take a number of steps every year to help prepare the community for disasters. We recently completed a Community Emergency Response Team Academy with 60 graduates. We're currently in the process of authoring a local hazard mitigation plan, and we take a number of other steps to prepare the city and the community in the event of a disaster. So thank you for this proclamation. We appreciate it and accept it on behalf of the police department.
Thank you for all that serve.
Thank you.
At this time, the City of Seal Beach and the City Council and the residents would like to honor and thank and recognize the following employees and volunteers for the military services to our country. And I'll come down and we can present. Would Fire Captain Stephen King please step down? As he's walking down, I'll tell you that he served as a specialist for and a sergeant in the United States Army from 1971 to 1974, receiving Overseas Theater Awards and the Army Commendation. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your service. Should he stay or?
Sure.
Yeah, why don't you stay?
Yeah, get everybody's picture.
Next, would Finance Accountant Dan Dillon come down? And as he's walking down, I just want to say he served as a sergeant for United States Marine Corps from 1968 to 1971. Dan served in the Republic of Vietnam with the 1st Marine Division, 1st Medical Battalion outside of Da Nang, and received the Vietnam Service and Vietnam Campaign Medals. Thank you for your service, sir. Water Operator Chaz Bussey. Turn it on. He served in the United States Army for 7 years as a psychological operations non-commissioned officer with the 1st Special Forces Command. He received the Joint Service Commendation Medal, Global War on Terrorism Expeditionary Medal, and the Inherent Resolve Campaign Medal during his last deployment in the Middle East. Thank you for your service, sir. Police Sergeant Chris Hendricks. He served as the United States Marine Corps for 8 years, receiving 2 National Achievement Medals, 2 Good Conduct Medals, 1 Overseas Service Medal, 1 National Defense Medal, and 1 Global War on Terrorism Medal. Thank you for your services. Look. Police Officer Nicholas Lacar, come on down. Mr. Lacar served in the United States Marine Corps for 6 years, receiving the Combat Action Ribbon, Meritorious Unit Citation, Joint Meritorious Unit Award, Afghanistan Campaign Medal, Good Conduct Medal, Navy Meritorious Unit Commendation, Navy Unit Commendation, Navy National Defense Service Medal, the Global War on Terror Service Medal, and the Navy Sea Service Ribbon. Thank you, sir, for your service. Police Officer Chris Fisher, come on down, please. He served in the United States Army for 7 years, receiving the Bronze Star, Iraq Campaign Medal, Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, National and the Defense Service Medal. Thank you for your service, sir. Police Records Supervisor Dan Fortney, please come on down. Mr. Fortney served in the United States Marine Corps for 4 years, receiving the National Defense Medal, Sea Service Deployment Medal, Armed Forces Expeditionary Medal, Persian Gulf ×2, and the Good Conduct Medal. Thank you for your service, sir. Police Volunteer Dave Harms, please come on down. Mr. Harms served in the United States Air Force for 4 years, receiving 2 Air Force Commendation Medals, 1 award for the Air Medal, the Vietnam Service and Vietnam Campaign Ribbons, and the Vietnam Gallantry Cross with Palm. Dave's unit also received the Presidential Unit Citation, Outstanding Unit Citation, and in one case, the Distinguished Flying Cross. Thank you for your service, sir. Police volunteer Jim Guterman, please come down. Jim served in the United States Navy from 1960 to 1966. He served on the USS Ingersoll DD-652, which was involved in the Cuban conflict and was part of the largest ship movement in the Panama Canal since World War II. Jim received the Navy Commemorative Ribbon, Sea Service Commendation Ribbon, Overseas Service Commemorative Ribbon, Navy Good Conduct Commendation. Thank you for your service, Jim. Police volunteer Don Murray, can you come down? Mr. Murray served in the United States Air Force from 1966 to 1970. Don completed basic training in Amarillo, Texas, was assigned for 1.5 years at Edwards Air Force Base, and he was assigned to the Air Base in South Japan, where he worked with RF 101s. Thank you for your service, sir. Police volunteer Mark Yacento. Please come on down. He wasn't. Okay, that's fine. He served 2 years for the United States Army. Thank you for your service. The following individuals were unable to attend, but we'd still like to recognize their service. Water operator Mike Ugla, senior water operator Tony Fabriello, community service officer Michael McDonald, police officer Mike Bastilli, firefighter Pete Trapani, Westcom dispatcher Josh Goldmark, and police volunteer Don Dobler. Thank you all for your services. Okay. You know, just when you think you know someone, you learn a lot more about them, and you see them every day on the streets, protecting and working for our city. We really appreciate all the work that they do. Thank you once again for all the work that you do. Okay, I'd like to call upon Chief Joe Miller to talk about the community policing program.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Council, City Manager Ingram. All right, they're already coming out. So I want to introduce you to our community policing team, Officers Jordan Mavrakian and Aaron Enos. I want to start off by saying how important this unit is to the city of Seal Beach, and I think to the community, not only in downtown, but I think in the other districts. I think this is something you'll see as we go through this. I want to kind of give an idea of why we did this. I think we get called upon often, some of the complaints and some of the biggest thing is us not having a presence, especially during the summer months. And I think this time we were able to find some funding, and I'll go through that as we go through this presentation, but we were able to find some funding for this, but I'm going to say it up front, I don't have the money for the future. So we started the deployment. Number one, we wanted to make sure that everybody knew that we took 2 officers from patrol and we pulled them out and we backfilled these officers. I think that's critical to know because I didn't have 2 additional bodies to put down here. We had to backfill with other resources. We started the deployment period Memorial Day weekend, May 25th through Monday, September 3rd. And as you can see, we have these 2 officers that were selected for this position, and they actually put in for this position. Some of the essential upgrades in equipment which is necessary for this unit, and we brought them with us. To the police officers, obviously. And then we have vehicles, a Ford F-150, as the public probably saw out there, the Polaris Ranger, and then these 2 bicycles that were actually donated by the Police Foundation, and they were about $8,000. And then obviously the equipment, summer equipment, and specialized equipment for bicycle riding and some of the all-terrain vehicle. Go ahead, Joe. Some of the goals and objectives, I could go through them all, but high visibility, community collaboration, meeting with people on Main Street, coffee with an officer, relationship, trust building, not always approachable, but they are. Pedestrian education, partnerships with local businesses, traffic enforcement, working with the homeless, drug and alcohol-related awareness and enforcement, crime suppression and apprehension, patrol support for high priority calls, and special events. These are some of the people, just some of the people that I think you should look at and know that these are some of the people that were taken into custody. As you can tell, through a combined effort of proactive policing and a partnership with our residents and businesses, the Seal Beach Police Department community-oriented policing team was able to provide services to the downtown community, prevent crime, and most importantly, apprehend these people and more. They were able to conduct 26 field interviews. They took 73 police reports, and they made 80 arrests during this time. They had 123 citations, 219 calls for service they responded to. And I think this is the biggest one. They made 560 self-initiated activities. So they made 560 contacts, calls, and they were out doing what we would hope to do now and in the future. I hope none of you know these people in here, but otherwise. As you can tell, the majority of these arrests, drugs and alcohol related, 49%, we broke it down. Warrant arrests, 26%, and municipal code violations, 12%, and other violations were 13%. So as you can tell, drug and alcohol were the majority of their arrests. So in this slide, I want to emphasize this. How we were able to fund this, it was through schedule adjustments. So we adjusted people's schedules. Officers helped out, reallocation of overtime costs, so we moved some of the money around to cover this. And then obviously we get funded by a supplemental law enforcement services fund by the state. This money is not guaranteed every year, and often it adjusts, some more, some less. We were able to do this one time, and I think it was important for the community to see what the results are. If we don't do this in the future, we've done it in the past, and we stopped it years ago because of funding. And if we don't do this, there's 80 additional 80 additional criminals that will be on the street, minimum. And I mean that because they actually took some times off, not very many, but they took some time off during that time. So they weren't out there every single day. They had other calls for service, and they were supplementing patrol where we were short. So I think it's important that we understand that in the event we don't do this in the future, those people will still be out there. That concludes my presentation. We do have some questions that we can answer.
Any comments
I think
from the
we're going to
council?
have some.
comments?
Yeah, I would.
Go ahead.
I want to thank you both very much for stepping up and asking for this job. I want you to know that my residents know you by name. And one of the reasons they know you by name is because you're very accessible. It's a lot of the complaints I get is that often when they see an officer, they're behind glass, they can't see inside, there's no waving, there's no nothing. My residents know you by name. And I hear it over and over again, what a wonderful job you've done. They feel that they're back in a day when really and truly the police can be seen and felt and touched, and little kids can look up and say, I want to be one of those one day. So I want to thank you for what you've done. Chief, I want to thank you for thinking outside the box. And I won't be here next summer in this seat, but I will come back and haunt you if you don't find a way to get these people back out. Okay? So I just can't say thank you enough. And this summer was so much better than the summer before, when we really had some serious, serious issues. And I thank you, and I blame you for a good summer. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moore? Maybe? Yeah, I want to say on behalf of the residents, it was great seeing you. I spent a lot of time on the streets, so to speak, and I noticed both of you were out there a lot. I know my children were out there all summer doing the junior guards and swimming, and I know the presence and the visual impacts of having you folks out there made a big difference to our community, and the residents really appreciate it. So thank you for your services. Thank you.
Anything else? You don't want to ask anything?
I was going to ask something, but it's not quite on this. It was just about the new laws that were passed about bail. I'm just saying, how much is that going to make it even more work for our
More worser.
more work for our guys?
You know what? That's yet to be determined, but the other laws are affecting us. If that means anything, I'm hoping that some of these other ones are repealed and everything. I also want to add real quick, now that you bring that up, my hope is to actually do this for every district. I think it's important. Leisure World, I'm hoping to reopen the substation to have officers present. I think it has everything to do with funding, everything we're trying to do, and I think it's important to show that just 2 people made a significant difference in 80 additional arrests. Imagine if we were able to put this throughout the entire community and provide this type of presence. There's no doubt that criminals are going to think twice before coming here. So anyways, thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you again.
Are you saying we can't just put a wall around the city?
You can.
Let-
Good luck with that.
Don't go there.
Can I say something I should have mentioned when it was my turn? The police department doesn't go into Leisure World ordinarily unless there's an issue. And of course, they're there to take care of whatever bad things happen. But one of the bad things, like speeding on our streets, has never been enforced by the police department because it's a private community. Well, Leisure World has gone to the extraordinary expense, and it has been, to bring the signage and the streets into compliance with the California Vehicle Code so that our police department can go in there and start ticketing for speeding and running stop signs. It's prevalent. It happens many times during the day, and there isn't anyone there to enforce moving violations. And as soon as Leisure World gets certified, our chief has assured me and others that he will assign or he will deploy our police department to come into Leisure World and finally give out speeding tickets. It can get pretty ugly in there. And we've lost a few people because of it. But I'd like to thank Joe for his enthusiasm and his willingness to work with Leisure World, and it's been a very good experience overall. Expensive, but good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you all. Okay, now we will have a Ocean Place project by Shea Holmes update. Wow.
Mayor Vera Papa and council members, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Bob Yoder. I'm the division president for Shea Homes, Southern California. With me is Corey Yoder, who's managing the project on a daily basis, if not hourly. Really like to thank also city staff. We don't always get welcomed into new cities when we are doing a development project, and we've had a lot of cooperation. City manager, Steve Murder, Crystal, Michael Ho. We haven't quite got out of the gates as quickly as we'd like, but we're making tremendous progress in the community. So they built the foundations, not the entire Golden Gate Bridge, but the toughest part, which is the foundations, which are underwater. They were one of the 6, this is actually Parker Dam, but they were one of the 6 companies that joined to build Hoover Dam. They also built Parker Dam, several heavy dam projects. This is currently underway. This is somewhere, I think around Fairfax Boulevard and Wilshire. So they do a lot of tunneling projects. So they've worked off and on for the MTA. They had a huge extension of the New York subway that was just completed recently. So our father company is still really active in heavy construction. It's kind of interesting. Another aspect of the company is Shea Properties. It does retail centers. This one's up in River Park. It's called The Collection. Ocean Ranch, which is down in, I call it Dana Point. I think it's technically Laguna Hills. But Shea kind of has history of being a master planner. We don't do much of that anymore because a lot of the land's gone. But this is actually an older complex that was completed, I think, in the late 90s. This is a recent one in Alhambra, right in Main Street, kind of a rejuvenation of an existing center. So this is our properties group, one of the other family members. A little boring, but that's an Ontario Industrial. So they do office, industrial, retail, and apartments. This is a recently completed Vantis Apartments in Aliso Viejo. So Shea Homes, Southern California, and all of our divisions, we kind of pride ourselves in having a pretty wide range. We're not necessarily an entry builder. We're generally a move-up builder, but we do everything from attached to what we call luxury. This is an attached community in Baker Ranch, which is the Lake Forest, a little row townhome. Probably, I have a few images of this because it's probably the last time we'll get to do a master plan in Orange County because, again, there's no more land. We're doing mostly infill. This is an amenity that we built, one of the pools. This is a community was 2,400 units, maybe 500 apartments. Everything else was for sale, and we're just going to be wrapping it up in the next year and a half. And we kind of, the tagline was the resort you call home, so we tried to make it a resort feel. These, again, just some of the amenities that we built. We also do age restricted. So our division, Southern California, this is 55 plus community, which is down in South Orange County, predominantly single story with some pop-up. But I guess the point is we'd like to think we're pretty versatile. This is maybe what people envision we do, which is kind of merchant building on the Irvine Ranch, 3 models, pretty typical. But again, these are about $1.5 million price point. Architecture is what is kind of dictated by the Irvine Company. So this won't represent what we're doing here in Ocean Place. But I think the interiors have, some similarities. We'll have, modern, open floor plans. These are just some images of that. Big master baths. So Ocean Place. Now, I don't want anybody to freak out on the architecture because we're still kind of in conceptual stages, but just kind of as an overview, we've kind of, I guess, evolved in our understanding of the requirements or the opportunities. So when we underwrote this, we thought, we could do maybe 4 or 5 plans. We're now up to 10 plans because there's just some unique lots that require a separate plan. So we have several areas where we may have 2 different plans which will have different elevations, but we'll have a total of 10 unique floor plans on the and our goal is hopefully customers will select the majority of those. We won't be pre-plotting them. So these are 2 of the plans that would fit on what we're calling kind of the park view lots that orient looking out over the park and the ocean. One of a more, say, traditional style, and one is pretty contemporary. We have 2 different architects. Apologize, the rendering styles are a little different, but this would be, say, a St. Augustine. We have a Spanish/Monterey, and maybe a Hampton. So these are 3 other styles that we're kind of playing with. These could fit in a couple different locations. And then this is what we're calling kind of a modern farmhouse. You see this a lot in more of the white and black, and we're kind of experimenting with the gray, but these are 2 additional plans by one of the other architects, JZMK, that would fit on kind of the interior lots. And then we have some unique lots that kind of fit the riverfront, and these are 2 of the styles. They have more of a street presence with the garage. Most of the other homes, garage on the alley, like most of the Old Town. These actually kind of front on the street, so we're trying to create a nice, public street presence. These are more, say, coastal oriented in terms of their architecture. And these are just maybe some of those rears. All the plans with the view so far that we're conceptualizing, we call them upside down, so the living's on the 2nd level because the view is substantially better kind of every foot you go up, and we're wrestling kind of with we have to keep the 25 feet, we know that, but try to give, as high a plate and as lifted as a view if we can. We're developing a 3D model. This is kind of an overview, and it's still in very rough stages, but you can kind of see how the homes are pretty blocked out. They're not as developed as you can kind of see the contiguous homes. But we're going to develop a very detailed 3D model because of the fact that we have 10 floor plans, we can only model maybe 2, and we'll need to be selling some other plans just off the plans or a physical model like this so they can kind of visualize what we're hoping to sell them. This is a picture of the park. Again, some refinement, but it's pretty accurate. It's based on the improved plans, and you can see how it obviously relates to the community and the river. This is just a view looking back. This is a view kind of sitting in the park. One of the reasons we did this model is so we can literally, and I'll show a picture in a minute, but we can get in different positions and see what the view is going to be like. This is from the park looking back at some of the homes, some of the newer homes. And again, these are just kind of snapshots of model. And this is another view, more kind of oriented towards, let me make sure I'm right here, I think towards First Street, looking back towards the row of homes that fronts the park. Another view of the park looking over towards the, what's the brewery over there? I forget. Ballast Point. Haven't been there yet, but I see it all the time. And this is looking out from, say, Lot 19. This is the actual view that they would get. And we're, one of the things we didn't recognize, frankly, was the park's going to have some trees. So it's not an unobstructed ocean view. They're still going to have ocean views, but they will, have trees, and they won't be this big initially. But this represents about a 15 to 20 year maturity, or maybe 10 to 15. These are probably the best view lots. This is one of the lots, say 26, which are along the river, which look out and have views directly out, and then also to the left off of Ocean Place. So in terms of our scheduling, again, like I said, we didn't quite get out of the gates as quickly. We got an early approval on our grading plan, but we overlooked a mitigation measure which required a sound wall effectively along First. And required a bit of engineering. We've just got it completed. We've just mobilized. They just started clearing, I think, actually today. So if you drive by there, you'll see a pretty ominous, tall, like 10-foot wall. But it was a required measure. It's not a permanent wall. It's a temporary wall, but it's required to mitigate noise from the grading along First Street. So that was a little hiccup we should have seen. We read it at one point, we didn't quite catch that. So, but I think once we get out there in earnest, we think the grading is maybe a 2.5-month operation. We do need the park area. The way the logistics work is the material that we'll have is going to be wet when it get down further, so we'll flip that onto the park area, complete the grading on the residential. And the park area really generally only gets maybe a 2-foot over X and then contouring and all of that. So we'll be in earnest in the park area probably in about 2 months. And then once we're complete with that, we'll proceed with the actual improvements to that. So our current projected schedule is we would hopefully to begin our models in January and have open models maybe May, June. We'd have a trailer first of the year. We were hoping maybe to get it out by October, but the earliest we could get it out is maybe November, and kind of the selling season's done. So we're just going to try to do it right, open first of the year, and we'll have a trailer that we're processing a parking and a plan, because again, even though we'll have 2 fully furnished models, we'll have several plans that we won't be able to actually represent other than through modeling or 3D virtual and that kind of a thing. So again, the sales office hopefully open around January, and then we'll start actual production of the homes, and we haven't worked out the logistics. I mean, it's really kind of a semi-custom program. We can't approach this as we do our typical community. Our goal, would be that we have a really solid interest in January. Customers can kind of select, hey, I like this plan versus that plan. They'll have, on many of the lots, they'll have a choice between a couple of plans, and then we can build based on that. We may, have to phase through and spec some of the homes, some sold, but we'll kind of work that out based on the market response. So with that, I'm here to answer any questions, and we're really excited and frankly privileged to be working on this. It was a very sought after community, and we kind of got it on the second round. There was somebody else in it for a while, and for whatever reason that didn't work out, and so we're thankful that we have the opportunity to work on it.
Well, great. Thank you for the presentation. Any questions from the council? Go ahead.
I want to thank you for all the models, because I know as we spoke about, one of the things we were really looking for was to wrap Old Town around so that it would be seamless and we could embrace this community as part of us. So I think with all the different models and people being able to choose their models, that's great. And while one of those may have been one I would have chosen, another isn't, and that's just the way Old Town is, and that's the way it should wrap around. So I very much appreciate it. I also appreciate the fact that if you do have to do some spec building, that everything will be built out at once, so it'll be of a minimal disruption to the community to be able to do that. Really looking forward to the park being done, and hope that you get it done really soon.
Yeah, we're working on it. I mean, we're hoping, and again, schedules are subject to a lot of variables, but our worst case would be when we have our models complete, everything done, the park would be 100% complete. So we have a really polished presentation. The sooner we can move that forward, the better, because our trailer might be out there sooner than that. But the park's got some significant improvements as well. But we're in the midst of finalizing all. I mean, the design's pretty well set. There's just some engineering and stuff that has to go along with it. So once we're able to get it graded, we'll be out there in earnest and going on it as we're completing the infrastructure for the site. So.
Well, thank you for your update tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Wait, Mr. Warren?
He just answered my question.
I had a couple quick questions.
Sure.
The sound wall that you're putting up, what type of material is that? I saw them putting up the post over the weekend, but I wasn't sure what was going between the posts.
It's just a pad.
Barrier?
Echo?
Echoberry, it's just a design. We studied a
Like a
few different.
composite type material, or is it, I mean, it's not, they're not going to block wall up or?
No, it's like it's like a pad, almost like that's flipped over, but it does, we had to, I don't know what kind of reduction we had to get, but it had to have some sound attenuation factor. So we did look at a few alternatives. I'd mentioned to him, I'd seen him do it with hay bales, stacked hay bales, that didn't fit for this application. So we ended up with these monstrous posts that
Yeah, I saw them.
seem to be pretty permanent to me, the way they're engineered, but they need to be that way to, there's some wind and but we'll have to rip all that out, unfortunately.
So the first order of work is the park then?
Well, it's kind of concurrent. So really the first order is the grading, and then once we get it graded, we've got some off-site sewer, work both in Marine as well as Marina and First, and then we'll be doing the site development, the public streets within. So as we're doing all that, what I would call site development, we'll be concurrently working on the park. And then we've got the whole frontage. First doesn't really get changed. It gets changed in our area. It gets narrowed to a more residential width versus the wider width. The balance of it, but doesn't get changed. But I think we, put a new sidewalk and it'll all, be kind of new down to the parking lot.
And once it's done, the neighborhood, if you will, is open streets. It's not like it's a gated community. It's
Correct.
Just like it's just kind of flows right into Old Town.
Yeah.
where the
And I think
alleys
for the
are
most
open.
part it does. I mean, the only anomaly is it does have a couple of public streets. So throughout Old Town, everything fronts on a public street. In this case, there's a couple, there's a core street that is alley loaded, but then there's another one that has a street on one side and a street on the other side, just because of the logistics of the site. But I think our model, once we get the roof detail, will actually demonstrate that it fits pretty well in that fabric of Old Town.
Right. Would you be willing to attend another meeting, maybe beginning of next year, just to kind of give us another 6
As long as you didn't take notes on our schedule. No, yeah, absolutely.
That'd be good, just to kind of see where you're
Sure.
at.
Now, hopefully there'll be a lot of
there's
physical
changes.
evidence to see what's going
I
on.
think that'd be good for everybody. We might have a lot more questions then, but thank you for your
Okay.
presentation and,
Thank you.
work you're going to do.
Right, thanks.
All right, with that, we'll go to the next presentation, the First Street Facility Update.
Want to speak this here, or does somebody?
Yeah, you can leave that, thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor, City Council, and staff, good afternoon or evening. It's going to be a tough act. I think we're going to like our mayor, our neighbor back there, so that's good to see. My name's David Coe. I'm partner and project manager for the Beach House Restaurant. We are extremely excited to be under contract with the city and working and cooperating with them and bringing this venue back to its full potential. We're really excited about that. We've been asked to provide a timeline of where we are today and moving forward, a little bit of the history. Let me start by our lease execution date, which was March 14th. From there, we've gone through March and April of a property inspection assessment process. We then moved on through May and June into our design development phase with early preliminary city review through the process. We then took it to architectural design and development through the months of June and July. Building system evaluation and the property evaluation with the utility companies, understanding what is in the building, the services to the building and outside the premises took place. We then took on our engineers with mechanical engineering and plumbing evaluation. We submitted through plan check earlier this month on September 5th. We are looking forward to building permits upon our plan check approval and construction commencement, hopefully upon issuance of our building permits. So our construction completion date is estimated in early of 2019. We have several consultants on board with us. We have Arnie Valentini, who's our architect, our MEP engineer, Sonic's engineers. Design group is Hatch Design. And our structural engineer is SDG. We have a solid group and team put together. They're all restaurant specialists, and we are using them and expediting every chance we can get. Collectively, we have simple goals here. Reactivating this property to maintain and bring back the best restaurant venue possible, and to do that in the fastest time frame possible. Beyond that, I'd just like to thank the council for their patience, city staff for their perseverance, and especially Vicki, thank you for coordinating everything. We know it hasn't been easy. And we know we're not.
Roll up a little bit, completed set of plans.
They probably weigh 50 pounds, yes. They're quite complete.
It was a full
Mayor,
set.
Mayor, if I could? Mayor?
Oh, I'm
If I
sorry.
could, staff can, between our Community Development Director and Public Works Director, some of these questions may need to be addressed by staff, so they'll just jump in depending on what question the council
Do
has.
they have a presentation, or they're just going to piggyback on?
Crystal?
We're available for any questions and clarification on staff's point of view. So in regard to the plan check, it was a full set, architectural, structural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and they were all routed out for plan check.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No,
We can always come back to you.
I'm sure I'll think of something in a minute.
Mrs. Starsik?
I just wanted to know when our upgrades to the property, where in the timeline do those take place?
I can give a quick overview, and obviously Director Miter can jump in if I didn't provide enough detail. In general, the lease agreement did require certain improvements or upgrades, replacements to be made to the building. At this time, those are pending items, I believe, and again, Mr. Miter can provide more detail. Those are ready to initiate at this time. Sure, those are ready to initiate. One of the things that is important to note, if you take a look at that, the lease execution was done in March, and then we began meeting to look at what their proposed alterations were. At that same time, staff was working on preparing all of the budget information. That's when we were getting budget ready, and as everyone can remember, that was a very bad time. So we were looking at what the council had approved staff to spend money on to make those improvements, those required improvements to the building, and we were looking at what the proposed alterations would be, which essentially would end up replacing what we were about to put into the building. So we thought it would be the most fiscally responsible thing for us to do is to hold off, coordinate so that we could make sure what we were putting in was going to stay in that building, and it wouldn't be essentially wasting the city's money. So right now what we've done is we have all the information from the plans, the calculations, and Mr. Miter has been working with Edison, so all of those items at this point are ready to initiate, but at the time when that lease agreement was done, we didn't think it was the best time to spend that money.
So the answer is pretty soon, or?
Yes, we put a very detailed work plan together. In the first phase of it was assessments. All the assessments in the various systems, and I'll read off the systems we studied within the building. Condition structural facility assessment, that is now complete. It was completed back in March. Replaced tile roofing system, we had a bid back in March, but now that we understand where they want to do with the roof, it would have had to been removed had we gone forward. That's a $40,000 item, and it wouldn't have helped their improvement. So install grease interceptor, we are moving on that. We were delayed because we had to have their calcs to size it, but we've already designed everything. In fact, we're receiving bids next week. So we're going to have that done within a month. And that will, whatever they build, that will complement whatever they build or whatever it really, I can get that done outside the footprint, so that can be done. We were just waiting for the calcs, and now we have them, so we can move forward. So, and then we go down to HVAC system. I want to be really clear, when I say HVAC system, that building does not have air conditioning and heating. HVAC system is an architectural term to describe heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. It's basically a system that provides all the air vent systems in buildings. It's called HVAC, or sometimes mechanical systems. This particular building, as it stands now, has a swamp cooler, and it has a kitchen fan. That is the extent of the HVAC system. We brought in February, we brought in a specialty contractor to look at it. The goal was, could it be repaired? He looked at it, he says it's beyond repair, it's inoperable. So it has to be replaced. So if we do, but replacing it would have resulted in a $15,000 cost that would not be usable for the extent of where they want to go. So it would not be able to be functional. So it didn't make sense to move forward. Now, if we wanted to go that direction again, we have all the info, and we could have that installed within 3 weeks. So
what do we do in the situation where we need to repair the roof, but they're going to extend or do something else with the roof? How do we, how does that work financially? Or say if they're going to do something else with the HVAC system, but we were supposed to replace the swamp cooler. So is that work on a credit basis, or how does that work?
yeah, we're currently, our city attorney and I were just talking about that, so I would defer to Craig.
I think the answer is different between the improvements that we're talking about. The roof is the roof, and we've committed to doing a roof on that building because it's our building. And so we're committed to paying for the roof project as budgeted by the council earlier on, subject to what they finally come up with in terms of the design. The HVAC commitment was a commitment to repair, replace what was there. And that may turn out to be inadequate for the tenant's uses. And I think at that point, we'd probably be discussing a credit arrangement for that system. The rest of it, the panel, we're going to put in the panel, the grease trap, we're putting in the grease trap. That was all out of money that the council earlier approved at the time of the lease.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Moore?
Do you have a more firm date than early 2019? Or?
Well, I can tell you that it's our desire to open up as absolutely as soon as possible.
Okay.
There's certain things that right now we're in a little bit of a holding period until we can get formal responses back from our submittal, and we'll probably be in a much better position to answer that question in about a month.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a couple of questions. The city is really excited about the project, first of all. We changed operators and owners and stuff like that. And back in February, we were told it was going to be Memorial Day. In July, it was going to be in November. And now it's September, and we still don't have a date. We have a roundabout date of early 2019 is January, February, March, to me. I mean, March would be the latest, first quarter of March. So we don't have a date. What has been done to date on your end? What have you done?
Well, per the timeline, if we broke down into detail each one of the processes, from the inspection to bringing out different tradesmen to take a look at the building, look at its useful aspects of the building, things that aren't useful, get into the systems outside the premises and analyze exactly what we can use and still utilize versus what we can't. It's a 1972 building.
You didn't do that when you looked at the building before you bid on it?
There's a lot we couldn't look at with someone occupying the building.
So February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, 7 months it took you to do that.
Well, that 7 months has been used, actually, and expedited. We've been paying our contractors extra money than what the original contracts were to expedite the whole process. So we have actually done analysis with our MEP engineers to calibrate exactly what the systems are that go into the building, only to find out that they were not appropriate to take it to the next level. So we've had to re-engineer certain aspects of that planning. The overall architect and design process of it, it's been cumbersome, trying to figure out it's almost a building within a building, and a lot of that process meant there's a lot of things that could be changed and couldn't be changed. So we're trying to operate with doing the best with what we've got.
Is the footprint changing?
No.
But structurally it's changing?
We have one wall that looks like it needs to be structurally enhanced because it's in the middle of the view plane in the dining room.
So I think when we approved the budget in February, the existing roof tiles will be replaced with new shingle roofs, with new shingle roof. So I think, in essence, and maybe that was a wrong assumption on our part, it was going to be replaced in kind, as is. You know, we just got a library roof redone, and we're going to take off the old shingles, put in new shingles, and that was it. I mean, how long could that take? How much could it cost? We didn't allocate a lot of money for that. And
Sure.
I think that gets into Ms. Starsik's question is, if the roof design is changing, and this is the first time anyone's probably seen a rendering of any kind,
Sure.
it looks like it's a lot different than just replacing shingles. So how does that go into the budget of the original staff report back in February to put a new roof on? I mean, to me, put a new roof on, you take the old roof off, put a new roof on, and you're done. And, you know, if you change the interior walls, that doesn't change the roof shingles. If you change something else, it changes the roof design. Now, I'm
Sure.
not sure, I'm not getting into the design of it.
Right.
But the point is, I was under the impression, and I'm not speaking for anybody else, that we were just going to replace it fairly in kind with some nice cosmetic changes, you know, and that would be done seamlessly, you know, fairly seamlessly. I know it takes time. I'm in construction business myself. I know there's change orders and there's changes and there's new renderings and designs and all types of things, but
Right.
I don't really see that happening now. I see a whole different game, if you will. We haven't done anything on our part. Have we done anything to date? We had 2 or 3 or 4 items here: install a grease interceptor, replace the HVAC system, replace electrical panel, construction structural assessment. I mean, have we done any of those?
Yes, the structural assessments have been done.
Okay.
We already had a good baseline.
Okay.
And that has been completed. We have estimates. We actually have a contractor estimate, so we know the number of what it would cost to replace these shingles. And that was basically based on our structural analysis. It's more basically cosmetic. So we do know there's termite damage. We do have some structural details on how to repair that.
Okay.
Overall, it's found to be given what the building is. Oh, thank you. Given what the building is, that does help. Given what the building is, it was found to be in overall good condition, considering what the building is. It's a building that was built back in the 1970s,
Right.
and there's over 11 building permits that were issued between 90s and early 2000s, and that's what you see out there today. So we basically went with every specialty contractor necessary to fill this has been out there. And we are moving forward with items that we can move forward with the grease interceptor. It needs to be installed. We wanted to get the right size, so we wanted to make sure we had his fixture counts.
Well, I'm not doubting any sizes or any type of component. I mean, that's your job, and I know you do a great job of doing that. And I think that's the important thing, is to get the right product in there. But I think just the timeline and the loss of time is what's baffling to me and my residents that I talk to, you know, on a Sunday walk, is what's going on? Why is it taking so long?
Right.
And when are we going to open it? Because we kind of had a situation like this before, and it didn't turn out good in the end, and now we're paying for it. But anyway, that's another story, another situation. But the point is, you know, we're here to facilitate what you need, but we need to get going on this. Now, you said the lease was executed in March. Is that correct?
Correct.
So when do we start collecting rent?
Well, I think per the lease document that you have and the contract you have, there's a mechanism for that. And it's really based upon city's work plus a certain amount of time before rent kicks in. But the commencement of the rent will kick in immediately upon landlord's work.
So it's, you're submitting the plans to the city, and then the city doing what the plans say, and
Anticipated at the time of entering into the lease that'd be,
Greg, can you talk in the mic? Is it on?
yeah, mine's on. The red light's on at least. There's a provision in the lease for the city to do the city work that you've identified, those 4 projects. It was anticipated at the time that we entered into the lease, which was actually dated March 26th, that would take 6 to 8 weeks. And then there's a 4-month period after we turn the building over to the tenant for them to start their work. There's a 4-month period where they do their improvements and don't pay rent, and then the rent kicks in. At this point, because of the changes in the plan and the time it's taken to get to the submittal of building permits, the city hasn't collected rent yet. We wouldn't have been collecting rent now, even under the original timeline, because we're still not to the end of that 4-month period. At whatever point the city allows them to begin working on their improvements will be the time at which the 4-month period kicks in. And after that, then the rent collection will start. So sometime in the next few weeks, when the building permits are approved and issued, that'll be the point at which the 4-month period starts. And after that, then we'll start collecting rent.
So we have the plans in the office?
The plans were submitted September 5th, I think. Last Thursday was the date.
Okay. So is that a tile roof on that building?
We have a selection that's been made, and I think we're in the process of ordering through the city vendor at this point that we've been given. So we're making progress on it. It will appear to be a tile roof, but it won't be the actual material. It'll be a surrogate of that in a certain capacity. I can't give you the exact name or process at this time, but I can tell you that it'll appear extremely similar.
So let me ask you another question. When do you think we'll start doing something out there physically, where we'll see workers there daily for the most part?
Right.
Changing the configuration of the roof. When do you anticipate that? As a project manager, you should be able to give me a week or 2-week time frame.
I'd say a week after the permits are issued.
So when the permits are issued, and when do we anticipate that happening? Roughly. I mean, I know everything is kind of subjected to change, but...
The initial review is a 10-day review period. After that, we are planning to have a meeting with the applicant and his architects to go over what the corrections that would be needed. Every first round has corrections. At that point, it would be however long it takes the corrections to be done by the tenant's architect. It comes back, it's another 10-day turnaround. If all the corrections were done, we can issue at that point.
So 20 days?
20 days for our review, and then whatever the interim period is to get the corrections made.
So they have no time frame for returning plans then? I mean, I guess that could just linger, if you will. I mean, I hate to make a worst-case scenario, but that could linger, and then basically the rent just gets pushed out, and the building just stays vacant that much longer because of various reasons. Is that how it works?
Every plan check has 6 months before it expires, but there isn't anything on the city's end that we have to require it to be resubmitted within a certain amount of time.
All right. Yeah, it'd be nice to see it, quick turnaround on both parts because, time is money, right?
Oh, I totally agree, but I can't tell you how much and how excited we are right now to turn this around and get this open. We've got hurdle dates that we've tried to achieve ourselves, but there is a process that we just have to go through. Our team, our architects, our designers, our MEP engineers, all are on staff, are on call until we finally get the turnaround, and they're ready to turn it around as fast as possible, and we're willing to pay the expedite fees to get it done as fast as possible.
So next month we'll see something, you think, in a month or two, a month and a half? We should have, in a perfect world, I mean.
Well, what we've already planned is as soon as we get the plans back from our plan checker, we are planning to have a meeting with the applicant and his team so that we can go over what those corrections are and hopefully facilitate the corrections that need to be done and keep the dialogue going to get them back as quickly as we can.
Well, any other questions from the council?
How close to that rendering do you think that it will look like?
Well, I think it's going to be similar. Now, that's a view from the if you're looking northwest, that's your northwest view. So you're kind of looking through the common area restrooms towards the river jetty. The view, as you can see the building on the right with the roofing, you see a separate roofing structure, is pretty similar. What we've got there is we've got an exterior wood veneer substitution process. It's kind of a vinyl product that we've got to bring kind of the unique classic house look to it. The colors are going to be light. The Beach House logo is similar. The lights are going to be brought in and be new. The window frames and systems are all going to be new. They have to be. I don't know if you've walked that property, but it's you blow through it and you're going to knock down a wall. It's when water comes in sideways, it goes straight into the casing. And then the roof, and then around the roof you've got. We need to block the air conditioning systems that are up there, the capacity of the air conditioning systems, and the ventilation and the fans to modern standards, which are necessary to promote any restaurant through health codes, through Title 24, which is an updated standard. There are certain things that building this restaurant, just by keeping it with a new business license, are going to have to progress to the next evolution of a restaurant.
Right.
So, yeah.
I think it looks great. I think if it looks like that when it's done, I think it'll be a huge improvement. So, thanks.
Well, we're excited, and we think you will be too when it opens.
And the city is too. I mean, we're just anticipating the groundbreaking, opening, whatever you want to call it.
I know, we know it's been
We
frustrating
wanna
for everyone. Trust
help
us.
you as much as we
On
can.
our side, it's.
Seems like we lose, days, weeks, months. So thank you again for all your
You're welcome.
work and keep
Thank
us
you.
posted, okay? Please. Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for the update tonight, and we all want to get it open, so let's work together and get it open.
Definitely.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you again. All right. Moving right along, we will have oral communications. At this time, members of the public may address the council regarding any items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the council cannot discuss or take action on any items not on the agenda unless authorized by law. Matters not on the agenda may, at the council's discretion, be referred to the city manager and placed on a future agenda. Those members of the public wishing to speak are asked to come forward to the microphone and state their name for the record. All speakers will be limited to a period of 5 minutes. Any documents for review shall be presented to the city clerk for distribution. Thank you.
Honorable Mayor, council people, I want to commend you, Mayor, for the wonderful things you brought out. This gentleman here was instructed to do the 4 items by June the 1st. He could have put a 100 amp back in there, brand new. You could have put a swamp cooler in, a new fan, and then you could have put any restaurant you could figure out. If you call the health department, they could have told you what a grease interceptor, the size of it. Okay, you were told to get it done.
Can you talk to the council, please?
I'm sorry, I apologize. Nothing's been submitted to Coastal as of today. They're gonna have to go to Coastal. Another thing, Ellery, 25 feet. I think it's over 25 feet.
Chuck, I've been told that whatever was there is what it is. So it's what I've been told.
Okay, it looks a lot taller than what's out there. I think the rent should have started, but what happened here? That's what I like to know. I think a lot of people want to know. Chief Joe needs money. I mean, he could have had for 5 months now, he could have had an officer being paid. The big question is, this has got to go to Coastal. I talked to Coastal today. I talked to our planning director, and the plans were just submitted. They don't know what's even on the plans yet. It has to go to the health department. the fire department. You're not talking 2 weeks, a month. You're talking maybe 6 months to a year. Honest. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ray Zioli. I'm a Seal Beach resident. Don't worry, I'm not going to talk about the oil revenue contract. That's behind us, and I actually wanted to talk about parking down at the Rivers End parking lot, but this actually is very near and dear to my heart, and I appreciate Mayor Varapapa's questions and comments. I'm in your district, and I didn't talk to you about this, but I was probably one of the most loyal customers of the old River End restaurant. There's never been a week that goes by, rarely, that I didn't go there, at least once, for many years. And I think it's great that we're getting a new tenant and putting a new fresh face on the building. But a lot of other customers and residents like myself, we just don't understand how you can have this crown jewel piece of real estate sitting there, boarded up with nothing going on. And I don't know, is it the new tenant? Is it staff? But you know, there's planning. I'm a civil engineer like the mayor, and usually, like when people own property, whether it's a rental property or a business property or their home, before they vacate it, they have a plan so that people come in within weeks and start working. I've been down there I'm a surfer, a kite surfer. I'm down there 3 days a week minimum. And there's nothing going on. And everyone asks me, that from out of town, people that I surf with, what's going on? And I'm like, well, I hate to say it, but I think we have a project that's being mismanaged. So I'll leave it at that. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but somewhere along the line, the residents are suffering because they don't have this jewel for at least a year. Like rubies for a year. We can't appreciate this asset. It'll probably be well past the beginning of 2019 is what I'm hearing, and we're not collecting rent. I'm shocked. We're not collecting rent. So the residents are losing in many ways, and yes, the police department's losing too. But that's not really why I came down here. I have a much lighter subject, but I'm glad I had the opportunity to air that, and I hope maybe we can look at a way of accelerating it. It's the new backup, no backing policy, or car backing into space policy at the beach parking lots, and River End is one of them on First Street. And people back up into those spots for years. I've been going down there, like I say, 4 times a week. And the reason we back into the spots down there is because we have a lot of equipment, whether it's surf equipment, kiteboarding equipment, beach equipment, there's picnic tables, picnickers, and so particularly on the perimeter, you back up and you unload all the things from your trunk. And then it's safer, you're not in the parking area where it gets real congested. And then when you leave, a lot of people that don't even have a lot of stuff, they back up, particularly Winnebagos, because then when they leave, they can go forward and not back up into a highly pedestrian congested parking lot. So this is the way that, the parking habits of people for years. And not all of us have backup cameras. In fact, most of us don't yet. So it doesn't really make sense that we're now not allowing people to back up. And they're actually handing out tickets, $62 tickets. And, I was down there the other day, and at least a dozen people got $62 tickets. And so I asked the gentleman, the officer, and he was very nice, why we have this no back-in policy, you have to go forward. And he says, well, we have a new license plate reader, and we don't want to get out of our cars, so we can just drive through real quick and read the plates. And I said, well, doesn't it make sense to get out of your car and so you can check? Oh, he says because not everyone has license plates on the front of their car. So my question was, well, still, can't you just get out and check? Or isn't it illegal not to have a front plate? Or you're accommodating the people without front plates? And, surely there's got to be some kind of practical resolution to this, because it really is. It really feels it really feels like just petty overregulation, with maybe the only benefit of generating a lot of cash unfairly, some, parking violation cash. And, the officer was very friendly, and I really appreciate that. And he actually told me that I was preaching to the choir and that I need to talk to the city. And so that's why I'm here. And I just ask that you look into it and see, maybe we can take those signs down. Or if we leave them up.
30 seconds.
Yeah, maybe we can take those signs down. I just think that it serves no purpose. And, a lot of people, like I say, at least 12 people got tickets one day for $700, and they had front plates. They pay $180, a month for parking. It just doesn't seem fair. Anyhow, that's really what I came here for. But again, we need to do something to get this online a little faster. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Joyce Ross Parquet, Old Town Seal Beach. Good evening, City Council, Mayor Farrah Popper. You're getting really on it now. It's time. And we have a new election coming, so you're going to be ready for us. Okay. No, a lot. I go by that every day on my walk, up and down the jetty. And the pier. How about the pier? It's been vacant 5 years. How many cops could we have had? 5 years. And down there, it's going to be another year. So anyway, I do have some things to talk about. The red bus, Councilman Moore and Sandra, if you're going to take away the buses from the Leisure World Group, take away that red bus. We pay $10,000 a year to park on Main Street, right there where the Lions Club put a sign up where the red car is, the red train. The red car, it comes across the Marina Bridge. It never did before until what's her name? Her contract lady, Christie, got involved. That red car from Long Beach, the red bus from Long Beach stopped over there at the Marina Bridge. If you're going to take away a bus for Leisure World, you need to take away that bus because there's not that many people on it. And it goes down First Street, down Pacific Coast Highway, back down to Main Street. We got 2 buses on Main Street and 2 on Electric. There's a sign down at the corner of Electric and Ocean and Seal Beach Boulevard, and that sign needs to come down. Because that sign says if your tax dollars to work, that sign belongs to PCH. That's Caltrans. Who ordered that sign put up down there? It needs to come down. It's a big sign. And that sign is using tax dollars. Somebody's already called Caltrans about those signs. They're taking that 12 cents a gallon money to put up those signs. That thing is huge. I don't know who put it up, but it doesn't pay for any of our roads. Bathtubs for seniors, you've already paid for another, you've already got the grant for another year, but I have some people in Old Town that are old, and they need bathtubs too. So how do they get their names on the list? They deserve one just as much as people in Leisure World. She wants to know how she gets a name on the list. And lawsuits. I'm shocked he's sitting here. I'm shocked that he's sitting here. And you, covering up for him for how long? 6 months. How long did you know about this lawsuit? City Council? And who's going to speak up and say, if you want to do sexual harassment, you pay for it. Which one of you is going to speak up and make the change? Because right now, it's taxpayers paying for it. So it's using all of our money up because of him. With the sexual harassment that went on for years, from 2013, and she protected him, and you're protecting him. Why? And the taxpayers out on the streets that I talk to want to know who is going to make that change in the law. They pay for their own. This is a couple times now we've had to do this. So that's one of the things that comes up every time I go out. And this thing about having to have a tax, the signs around town. I know that you didn't bother to get the taxes now from what the businesses we have. How in the world are you going to get them? Do I go back to him sitting over there and we're being paid for, what did she call it? The City of Seal Beach Police Department, the City of Seal Beach, Joe Miller, and Jill England. So we're paying for them, and the residents out there that I talk to want to know which one's going to bring up the fact, just like they did up in Sacramento, just like they did in the federal government. You do it, you pay for it. Because we've been having to pay extra money into the legal fund instead of these attorneys that we have. They don't represent that kind of lawsuits. We pay it into a different legal fund, and the cost has been going up higher.
Your time's
Thank
up.
you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Seeing none, we'll move to the next item, which is the city attorney report.
Thank you, Mayor. No report this evening.
Thank you. Any report from the city manager?
Yes, Mayor. Just have one item tonight, just a reminder to the council and the community about the council's next strategic planning session is this Wednesday, September 12th at 8:30 a.m. at Fire Station 48. It is an open public meeting, and the public's welcome to attend and participate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to council comments. Do we have any at this time? We'll start to my right. Far right.
I'd like to mention that the issue last month was senior mobility and the bus issue. I'd like to thank the staff, specifically Patrick Gallegos, for putting together a program and going on the road with it. He went to 3 or 4 buildings in the city, talking to many seniors, helping them understand the new program, how it's going to work, and what's getting cut and what's not getting cut. And I think it's worked out quite well. Everybody is very well informed. There were plenty of handouts that were easily understood, even by me. And it was something that everyone appreciated. And they brought donuts.
That works.
I did attend one of the hazard mitigation planning meetings, and I noticed that there's another one scheduled for later this month, and I find it pretty intriguing, and I hope that there are more people that would be interested in this plan that is being prepared so that when we have a hazard happen, we will be as prepared as we possibly can be. I don't know how this happened, but since I got on the city council, I find myself going to a lot of the water meetings, and that's Metropolitan Water, MODOC, Metropolitan Water District of Orange County. They're the retail suppliers of water, and one of those meetings is at 7:30 in the morning. So I hope you appreciate the sacrifice I'm making. In a special district that you pay for on your taxes, by the way. The city does not collect that money. And I am also part of a couple of committees associated with that, and I've been attending meetings regularly and hope that we're getting the vector issue available to everyone. The new mosquito of the day is Aedes mosquito. It bites during the day, it stays on your clothes and comes in the house, and that's all you need. You are going to be bit forever. It's really an invasive mosquito. So far, it doesn't carry any diseases that they know of, but that may happen. We don't know. And they have found some West Nile virus in the county. Luckily, Seal Beach, being where it is, I think we're in a little corner. And we have a big sea breeze that many of the mosquitoes that are carrying just don't hang out for very long. So that saves us. But nevertheless, there's been West Nile virus found very close by, especially in Garden Grove. So, you know, everybody pay attention to the water at the bottom of your flower pots. Any standing water in a bird feeder, on the ground, even in the gutter, get rid of it, sweep it out, do something with it. Because a mosquito can lay eggs in less than a teaspoon of water. And when they mature, they're all over you. So pay attention. And that's my mantra for the month.
Thank you for the update. Very good. Councilmember Starsik?
I also attended the Senior Transportation Open House, and thank you to Patrick, Michael Ho, Grant, and Rebecca for all their hard work in informing our residents. I also attended a couple of the local hazard mitigation meetings, and thank you to Sergeant Henderson for working hard on that. I dropped in at the Rotary Lions Fishing Derby, which was fun. They had caught, I think, 24 fish when I was there. They said that was a low number, but it sounded pretty good to me. I attended a electric vehicle workshop that Southern California AQMD put on, and Supervisor Steele, a forum where OCTA met with transportation issues in our district with city staff and some electeds. Thank you for the summer send-off. The movie night it was at Heather Park in College Park East. I'd like to thank Fresh Cut Creative for sponsoring much of the cost for this. It was a very well attended, lots of fun, the movie Coco. Thank you to Anthony Nguyen and also Tim, David Nett, and all of CPNA who helped cook hot dogs and make popcorn. It was a really fun event. I also attended a public safety town hall put on by Supervisor Steele and the city of Huntington Beach. We had the sheriff from Orange County, the Huntington Beach police chief, providing some updates on crime and safety. Kind of interesting to get a county-wide, the part of the county that the sheriff's in and another cities, but similar kind of things. So, and I attended the Seal Beach Arts and Crafts Fair. Thank you to the Lions. That was also a really fun event. So, thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Deaton?
Yeah, trying to figure out where to go first. First, I'd like to thank the Lions for taking on the Arts and Crafts Festival. I think it's my very favorite of the year, so thank you to the Lions for that. I also have a few things that I'd like to ask about, and that is questions about the front license plates. I was told it is a law that you have to have front license plates. I don't see any reason why we can't just cite them for not having the front license plates instead of making the people who are actually putting on the front license plate not back in. So just a question to be considered. I'd also like to ask the question about bathtubs for Old Town. I'm beginning to call us Leisure World South. We have many elderly in our community as well. So perhaps I could get an answer on that at another time if you don't have it now. Unfortunately, Ms. Parquet left, but I did want to say that if anyone is ever found guilty of sexual harassment, this council has always made them pay their own way. We don't need a new law for that. They have to pay their own. Am I correct on that, Craig?
I'm never quite sure what pay their own way means.
In other words,
it's
if
a
someone
criminal-
is guilty of a crime,
They're guilty of a crime,
they
by
pay
law,
their
the
own
city
legal costs,
does
right?
Pay their legal costs.
Nobody covers up anything for anybody. And if the city is paying for an employee that is in a legal difficulty during their job, that means that they have not been found guilty of doing that. So I just wanted to say that, and then I wanted to go on to what I really had for tonight, which is I would like to request a resolution of support for Measure BB. I first of all wanted to ask Vicki if you could answer a question for me. Vicki, what percent of sales tax comes into Seal Beach right now?
For every $1 of sales, there's 7 3/4 cents of sales tax, and 1 penny of that 7 3/4 cents comes to the city of Seal Beach.
Okay, and that math is way over my head. I did English, not math, and I tried to do that math, and I got all inside out on it. So, needless to say, out of 7 3/4%, 6 3/4% leaves our town on the things that we pay sales tax on, and goes to the state, my favorite group, and the county.
Correct.
So, when the question was asked tonight in citizen comments about why can't we manage on the sales tax we have, it's because we don't get the sales tax. Someone else does. And under BB, what that does is allow us to get the sales tax and keep it here, and the state cannot, by law, touch it. So what I'm asking for tonight is a request for a resolution of support for our Measure BB from this council. So, and I'm going to read this because I want to make sure I get it all inclusive, and I hope you'll bear with me. In November, as we all know, the voters of Seal Beach are being asked to consider a very important ballot measure that this city council proposed unanimously. We all voted to put Measure BB on the ballot as a new sustainable source of revenue for public safety and other services the city provides that Sacramento cannot take away. It is essential that the City Council as a body take an official position on Measure BB. I have asked the City Attorney, and he has advised that the City Council may, as a body, adopt a resolution that expresses our position on Measure BB and the reasons for that position. I would like to ask that such a resolution be prepared for our next regular City Council meeting agenda, and that it be a strong statement of the City Council in support of Measure BB that hopefully we can all agree on and vote for. To me, there are many reasons to support Measure BB that were very clearly discussed by staff and the council when we decided to put the measure on the ballot. I request that the resolution include for our voters information: 1, a very clear description of the city's structural budget problems and the fact that more and more cuts to essential services will be needed to balance the budget in future years. In addition to that, if we don't just cut service, we are going to lose all of our reserves to pay for operational costs. The City Council's stated intent that the first priority for Measure BB funds, if the voters approve it, is to improve public safety in our town. Tonight we saw a very good demonstration of why we need to increase our public safety. 81 bad guys and gals would still be out there tonight if it weren't for that team that was down there at the beach. This means more police officers on patrol in all our residential neighborhoods. We heard tonight that Leisure World needs more help in Leisure World for speeding. We've all read about the deaths and the injuries that have occurred in there. They need help. We don't have the officers to send. Rossmore offered us free office space to house a police officer. That was very nice of them. We don't need a building. We need the officer to put in there. We also share, I don't know how many people know this, we share in the cost of the police officer down at Los Alamitos High School. It is our job to protect our children, and our PD does that. They are at McGaw School as often as they can, and certainly before and after school, they are around. So if there's ever one accident in town, it takes every police officer we have out on the street, and then there's no one to go to McGaw School, or there's no one to go into Leisure World, or there's no one for any of us to call because they're all at an emergency. Measure BB is about public safety and protecting the quality of life in Seal Beach. Folks, if we don't have safety, if we don't feel safe, we don't have quality of life. And you know what happens when you don't have quality of life? Your property values go down. So I think to keep our property values high and to enjoy our quality of life, Measure BB is essential. To keep our local control here in town, it's essential. Our voters should know where we stand as a city council, and I hope we will adopt. This Wednesday, we're going to have staff to know exactly what we need to do so that the meeting after the election, should it pass, we can immediately requisition the police officers that we need. We can open the Jack Haley building as a substation and not just a place for the volunteers, but where there are sworn officers. We will requisition police officers to put into neighborhoods. We will requisition an officer that will be signed to Leisure World, and we will get officers out in all of our neighborhoods, hopefully with windows down and waving at everybody and getting to know everybody, just like our bicycle police did. So I feel very strongly that our voters need to know what our priorities are if they approve this new funding, and that our city staff and manager need the time to put it together to be ready. So should you all decide to vote yes on BB, the next meeting we can do the requisition to get the safety in this town that we need to keep our small town. So with that, I would like to request that resolution, if we could get that back and see if the council would graciously support that. And then the last thing I'd like to say is I was at the Huntington Beach Safety Meeting, talked to Michelle Steele. It was put on by the county, and Supervisor Steele said she would be happy to come to Seal Beach and do the same. One of the most interesting of the presenters was Susan Price from the county, who's the homeless liaison. Really enjoyed listening to her speak, and I thought that Under Sheriff Barnes did an excellent job in reiterating why we need BB, because the environment is so changed with all the changes in the laws, with the fact that our governor is seeing fit to release prisoners, that our police department has now been told to give tickets instead of arresting people because of the new bail. Thank you for bringing that up. The new bail problem that we're going to have, where people don't even have to pay bail anymore. And we wonder why we have unemployment. Now we've got all the bail bondsmen out of work. So anyway, I just think this is a very serious thing, and I would like to look into perhaps having Supervisor Steele do the same here for us as what they did in Huntington. It was an extraordinarily interesting meeting. So with that, thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Thank you. Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. I met with DWP along with Councilmember Masa-Lavitt a few weeks ago regarding concerns about noise and pollution that were brought up by residents in Leisure World at a town hall meeting last year. There were several people from DWP at the meeting, and we established a great line of communication between the city and DWP regarding the upcoming project to demolish several power plants. They agreed to a few town hall meetings, with the first happening in April next year. And before the major work begins on the project, they'll meet with residents and clarify any concerns. Between the large project at AES and the project at DWP, I think a lot of residents will notice how the skyline of Seal Beach will be much improved with smaller, more effective plants in place. I went to another local hazard mitigation plan meeting and want to thank those attending from College Park West. I attended a general meeting for the League of California Cities. The future of self-driving vehicles was discussed and how it might affect cities in the future. It sounds like this technology might happen a lot faster than previously thought, and all the car manufacturers are spending billions of dollars over the past few years on this technology, so it's progressing quickly. I enjoyed going to the Seal Beach Arts and Crafts event yesterday. There were more booths than last year, and it was very well organized. I was able to pick up several gifts for Christmas. The city and the Lions Club did a great job. And I'm looking forward to this Saturday at the Leisure World Expo in Clubhouse 4. I'll be there from 9 to 1 at the Seal Beach City booth. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Yeah, I attended the Rotary Club Fish Derby. That was a pretty fun event. Kids were pretty excited. We got to figure out a way for them to catch bigger fish, though, because everything I saw was only like this big. But all in all, they had a blast, and they were looking like they were having a great time. Also attended the 41st Annual Arts and Crafts Fair. Good job by the Lions Club in the city. That was a great event. And I don't know if you noticed, but the arts and crafts are getting so much more, I don't know if it's better, but it's a lot different than it was 20, 30 years ago when I used to go. But great event. I did buy some Christmas gifts too, so good idea. Okay, that moves us to the next item. I think we have the consent calendar. There have been no items pulled. Do you have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Please vote. Motion passes 5-0. Public hearing, there are none. Unfinished business, new business. We will adjourn the city council meeting in memory of police volunteer Ramsey Mansour to Monday, September 24th, 2018 at 5:30 p.m. to meet in closed session if deemed necessary. And I believe we have a special successor agency matter meeting next, right? Do we need to take a break or we want to keep going?
No, keep going.
Keep going? Okay. So the next meeting is for the special successor agency matters. Can we have a call to order, please?
Chair Vera Papa.
Here.
Vice Chair Deaton.
Here.
Member Moore.
Here.
Member Sestarsik.
Here.
Member Masalavet.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. At this time, we'll take oral communications. At this time, members of the public may address the agency regarding any items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the agency. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the agency cannot discuss or take action on any items not on the agenda unless authorized by law. Matters not on the agenda may, at the agency's discretion, be referred to the executive director and placed on a future agenda. Those members of the public wishing to speak are asked to come forward to the microphone and state their name for the record. All speakers will be limited to a period of 5 minutes. Any documents for review should be presented to the agency secretary for distribution. Do we have any members of the public that would like to speak at this time? Seeing none, we will move to the consent calendar.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Please vote. Oops, sorry. Can you vote again? Sorry about that. Please vote again. Press the wrong button. Motion passes 5-0. We will adjourn the successor agency to a date uncertain. Right? Anything else? That's it. Thank you all and good evening.